Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes and joined today by Chris Paul, comedian extraordinaire, and our social justice activist, Coy Malone. How are you both?
I'm good. Happy MLK Day to you.
Happy, sing, sing, celebrate. Yes. A day on for me. How about you guys?
I had a dream. I took a nap today and had a dream.
Was it a dream about the equality for all people and living better lives?
Yes, that's
Good.
always the dream, Sybil.
Well, you and I have separate dreams, so I had to ask. Coy, how did you celebrate the King Day celebration?
Well, I almost feel like I've been celebrating all weekend with the community down
Because you're
here
in
in
Atlanta.
in Atlanta. Just outside of Atlanta, there's a community of Griffin, Georgia, which is in Spalding County. It's about an hour outside of Atlanta, and the community has really been coming together since last week. Unfortunately, a tornado ripped through that town. It has caused a lot of devastation there. A lot of people are Most of the town is still without power now. It probably won't be restored until the end of this week. There's been a lot of destruction of homes and businesses due to the tornado. Complete roofs of commercial buildings, windows, walls ripped out. Trees have gone through several homes.
And we
It's just
talk
sad
about
to
that in
see.
the newsletter. And we will talk about it as we go on. But Coy, I'm going to challenge you to make this one of your stories and give us, the photographs and things so people can really get a sense of it around the country. Because honestly, in a lot of different news outlets, we're not getting the picture that you are painting for us right now. So that's two things. I'm going to ask you to follow up and do a story on this. And secondly, to provide pictures and especially to give people an idea of what's going on.
Definitely, because there's a lot of volunteer effort, but most of it is coming from the community of Griffin. So it's great to see everybody coming together to help one another, pulling trees off of cars, out of houses, out of yards,
Right,
off of
right.
streets,
And I said we will
all
talk
that.
about that. So because that is important and that is something that we need you who is there on the ground and who has experienced this and been affected by it personally. So
Yes, black
we're
and white. Just making a note, you guys, on MLK. That black and white. Everybody's coming
very
together.
good.
It's beautiful.
Very good. All right, we're going to talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter, what is in the newsletter, and some of the articles that we have today, of course, as we are observing the holiday of Dr. King's birth on Sunday, the 15th of January. He would have been 94 years old. So we'll talk about how people, and especially people in politics, are observing this. And the newsletter does super serve the African American community with these stories as they affect us and others in our communities. Coy is our social justice activist, and she is talking about a particular moment and situation in the city of Los Angeles that has affected a member of the Black Lives Matter family. And one of the co-founders lost a member of her family as a result of his treatment by the Los Angeles Police Department. So, Coy, tell us about 31-year-old Keenan Anderson.
Very unfortunate. This young man, Keenan Anderson, who is a school teacher, and the cousin of Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrice Cullors, died hours after being shot repeatedly by a taser by Los Angeles Police Department officers. They were said to have responded to a traffic accident on January 3rd in Venice, and they found Mr. Anderson allegedly running into the street and showing erratic behavior. So there's released body camera footage that we do have linked in our newsletter that shows him lying on the ground while officers are holding him down and repeatedly, shouting at him to turn over, and that they're threatening to tase him and telling him to stop. And he's yelling out loud saying, he's not resisting, he's asking for help. And after that, they tased him repeatedly and he died 4 hours later. There's been no official cause of death listed. Mayor Karen Bass is demanding immediate suspension of the involved officers pending the outcome of an investigation. And they also put a video statement in front of released body camera footage. I believe it's floating around YouTube, with LAPD Captain Kelly Muniz saying that the use of force investigations can take up to a year to resolve, unfortunately. So what I'm finding is, because I've seen this, circulating through a lot of different blog sites and different social media outlets, I'm seeing a lot of people, unfortunately, in the comments bashing this incident because of how Black Lives Matter was portrayed in the media. I don't really recall a resolution or a conclusion in terms of how funding was used or acquired through that community and organization. However, this is a time for all of us to come together and fight against the injustice that happened to this innocent man who was unarmed, who was cooperating with police. No matter what you think or what your opinion is about Black Lives Matter and how the organization has conducted itself, this is a time that we need to come together and fight, or else we're going to keep experiencing this.
Keenan Anderson was 31 years old. He was the cousin of Patrisse Cullors, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, and that is what to which Coy is referring. Keenan was also a school teacher visiting from Washington in the Venice area when this accident occurred. A lot of questions, but this is really important. This is probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is probably the first really big, important test faced by the new mayor of Los Angeles, and that is former Congresswoman Karen Bass. It's one thing to talk about it from the outside, although she was representing Los Angeles, but to be the mayor of Los Angeles and what is going to result from this. She has called for these men to be put on detention, but a lot of people are calling for the police chief to be fired. Is that not right?
They are. And not only because of that, but this is the third killing by
in 3 days.
In 3 days in Los Angeles. They are 3 for 3. That's a horrible statistic. Horrible. So I could understand the cry to fire the police captain, police chief, all that stuff, because it doesn't make any sense as to why are we 3 days into the new year and dealing with this level of brutality. That means every day we have to go outside. If we're in Los Angeles, we have to go outside and be worried to have our lives taken by local law enforcement.
I saw the video, and it's maddening to watch because at no point are the officers involved in any kind of danger. There's multiple officers. There's just this one brother who is not, and it's so crazy the way they, and this happens in multiple videos that we've seen,
right,
where the cops just keep saying, stop resisting, and the person is not resisting.
Right. He's trying to tell them they're George Floyding me.
Right. But it's not.
He literally said that. Yeah.
The black person is not resisting, but there's going to be a normal physical reaction when people are putting their body weight on you. Yeah. When they're putting a knee in the center of your back or on your neck or whatever they're doing. It's just trying to move to adjust yourself so you can breathe, and they're all chiming in together like an evil choir. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. And the dude with the taser was just a maniac. He
went crazy.
He just went crazy. It's like he made up his mind what he was going to do. None of them were in there. They could have all just stood up and stood around him and would have gotten decent results because he wasn't fighting them. He wasn't resisting. Right. They wanted it to be this. And they got, I'm sure they expect him to die.
But they got him to stop resisting. And unfortunately, 4 hours later, he went into cardiac arrest and he died.
Right. So unlike the cops who shoot a brother, they thought that what they were doing was fine, that they could just tase the hell out of him and it would be all right. But no, it's not all right.
And as Coy says, it's not just Los Angeles, it's any city USA, unfortunately, whether it's a suburb of Minneapolis or the south side of Chicago or God forbid in outside of your home in Virginia, Chris, it is still the greatest fear that many of us have regarding our interactions with police. And whatever this young man was going through, they did not recognize it. And the first thing, Coy, if I'm not mistaken, that came out was the toxicology report that indicated that he did have some drugs in his system. But instead of dealing with this the way that I'm sure they've been taught, and this has been a part of the teaching in a city like Los Angeles or anywhere else, and you talk about the response, then this is not the answer. But the first thing they say, well, yeah, drugs in his system. And so what does that mean for the way that the police were treating him?
Right.
How do you respond to someone like that? Do you continue to tase them as a result? Do you continue to put pressure on their body so that they can't breathe? So the only thing he can do is try to respond to get you to stop from killing him on the ground?
Right. And so the thing about it is people are forgetting that the first thing you're supposed to do in an emergency situation like that is to render aid and not to
They
render
did not learn
threat
that
or
in the George
brutality.
Floyd trial.
They didn't. And it's unfortunate that I'm seeing also in a lot of the comments on social media from particularly white people that are saying that, well, why are you always turning this into race and what have you? And it's not that we're out here looking for a cry for help to plead like we're playing like the victim. The issue is that this keeps happening to unarmed Black people at an alarming scale that are ending up either brutalized, severely hurt, or killed at the expense of complying with police. So at what point are we safe when we surrender? Or are we ever safe?
And now, as always, the search for justice, you're not just going up against the cops who were there on the scene that took this brother's life. You are now going against the entire Los Angeles Police Department. Because when this happens, they all close ranks, and their mission now is just to make sure they get away with it, that they can prove that they were justified in the force that they applied on this poor man.
Lest we not forget this, one of the stories that I covered, I believe, last year with the young man who was outside of his own home taking out the trash, and LAPD rolled up on him and began brutalizing him and his girlfriend and arrested him, and they had the completely wrong person at the wrong address.
They've got history. Yeah, no doubt. And we'll continue to report on that. But we shouldn't have to.
Right.
And the hue and cry should be, why aren't you doing anything? Let's make that change. Let's change the makeup. Let's change the temperature. Let's change the way of thinking and the way of doing when you're confronted with these situations.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to be the adult in the group.
Right. What do we do now? Like, in terms of, we've talked about this several times, that we have the conversations with our peers. Some of you have had these conversations with your children, what to do during a traffic stop or when you come across police. So what is the conversation that we have now?
And how great do you have to be in order not to be confronted by police? We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The trial is headed, the case is headed to trial of the young man in the military who was stopped and mistreated by police and because of the license plate situation. It didn't matter that he, it showed who he was in terms of being a member of the military and all that entails. It was just a Black man. That's all they saw. And we will continue to tell these stories, but it gets tiresome and it wears down on us. But that's not going to make us stop.
And we've discussed it on this show before, that there is a large percentage of Black people in this country that will not call the cops for anything, even when they're the victim.
Right.
They will not, because it's just not worth it to them. It could go wrong. You call because your house is getting broken into, and we've seen that. Your house is getting broken into, and you get killed.
Right.
Because the cops showed up and see the one Black person they see is the homeowner.
Yeah.
And he's dead. So they don't call the cops for anything.
That's it. They will shoot before thinking, before making any kind of logical movement or reality sets in their voices, in their heads. But they will make an effort to shoot or to tase before anything else. I'm sorry, Coy, once again, apologizing to you for having to deal with these stories. And especially as you're going through so much, and we're going to talk about the weather situation.
And also, this story is also a wake-up call for everyone else, because we're always taught to believe that tasing is a non-lethal way to subdue a suspect. Now, that's not true, obviously. That's not true.
This isn't the first time we've seen that.
Tasing can kill someone.
Tasing kills. It doesn't matter if you're tasing them or you're putting them in the back of a police truck or whatever, how you put them in there and allow them to jostle up against the wall, or you come to a sudden stop. That's funny to them, and somebody is physically injured in a Freddie Gray situation.
And if 3 non-professional law enforcement people like ourselves know that tasing kills, surely the officer in this case that held a taser in his hand,
like it was a joystick,
knew what could happen if he kept hitting that fire button on that taser.
Yep.
I mean, we first saw evidence of how bad LAPD was with Rodney King.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't stopped since then. Nothing. And you would think after so many years of seeing so much police brutality from the same exact department, that something would happen on a federal level to come in and clean up this mess at this time. And yet it hasn't. And I wonder why.
On a political level, thinking about where we are with this new Republican Congress and what they are trying to put forth and saying that they are what they are for and against. And one of the things is their code word for things that deal with people of color. And they're not going to deal with wokeism. You've heard that maybe a couple of times over the last couple of weeks since Kevin McCarthy weaseled his way into the speakership. But now, that's the new word for we're not going to deal with people of color. And topics of wokeism.
But after January 6th, do the Republicans still claim they back the blue? Or have they abandoned that battle cry? Right. Or do they still say they back the blue? I don't know.
They don't because of January 6th. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Right.
Some people are still calling them heroes.
One of the other stories we do talk about is the fact that President Biden, for history's sake, was the first sitting president to appear at a Dr. King event in his home church at Ebenezer in Atlanta on his birthday. Normally, presidents will go and participate in the official holiday. But in this case, the president, Biden, they called it a sermon. I say that he spoke to the group, but he did talk about, and it was more along lines of preparing for him to make his political run, make his announcement that he's going to run for re-election.
They should have stuck to the original plan of President Biden lip syncing while Hakeem Jeffries was off stage with a microphone.
Hey,
delivering the actual sermon.
It's not a sermon until they sweat and they bring out like the sweat rag and they say,
Yeah, there was none of that. There was none.
What are you going to do after Obama sang? What do you? After Amazing Grace, what are you going?
Yeah, where do you go from there? You sing Happy Birthday, but that's not.
Better moonwalk.
Also, take a look at Ministry Monday. This is Willie McIver's attention to what's going on in Ministry Mondays, and take a look at it as she talks about how to serve God and a number of different topics every week. She talks about in this particular section. For those of us at Bedside Baptist, we can use all of this. All right, let's move to our next section and the What's Really Going On section. I'm very excited to welcome in our very special guest and a partner in what we do here at with What You Really Need to Know newsletter, as well as it's Sybil. Let us welcome the Executive Vice President of the American Heart Association, Katrina McGee. Welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. It's a joy to be back. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy King Day to you.
Yes. Happy MLK Day.
So, Katrina, we wanted to have you on so that we could talk about how we are now entering into year 2 of our partnership with the American Heart Association. And it does our hearts good to be able to announce that, as well as to continue a great partnership and to know how important it is that we are working together, because I really do believe that your support, our partnership, are vital to keeping Black folks alive, people of color alive, and doing good things. Chris Paul has been a member of our team for a very long time, and he was very kind to come on one of our special shows that we had about heart disease and strokes. And Chris has suffered a stroke. He was very open. And
full disclosure, I had the stroke on purpose just so I could work with your organization. That's how incredible you all are there.
Oh my goodness.
What a guy. What a guy.
I know.
Just
so
wanted to work with you.
Took one for the team.
If nothing else, Chris is committed, right? Or should be. I'm not sure which it is, Katrina.
Oh my goodness. Well, we just want to say we are honored and thrilled to be partners. We are so grateful for y'all. It is so important that we continue to elevate, topics that are making a significant impact in our community in a negative way, and give people the tools and information they need to make positive life choices, to stand up for their own health, and to be partners with us in achieving equitable health for all. We have been fighting for that for years, and I am just so grateful to you and the platform and the team for helping us to move that work forward.
Well, we are excited to, because the day-to-day work that we do with you all, as well as looking forward to this year and what the next is, and something that is so vital. And if you'll talk about it a little bit, and full disclosure, I have already taken steps to be a part of this next step, and that is to encourage people to learn CPR.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Heart Month is right around the corner. Our theme this year is Be the Beat. And we're focused on helping Americans become a nation of lifesavers.
Mm-hmm.
We know that 70% of cardiac arrests happen outside the hospital actually happen at home, and another 20% happen in public settings. And yet, if you are African American or Hispanic Latina, you are significantly less likely to have CPR performed on you. So we want to equip people from within the community and equip the world really to learn CPR, because we believe anybody can be a hero. But it is especially important for those of us in the African American Hispanic community to learn it. We're challenging at least one person in every household to learn CPR.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think we can do it. I mean, we are committed to making this happen.
Absolutely. I think, Chris, and you'll understand this, as now that you have grandchildren, Chris, and understand the importance of not only being the protector of your wife and your children, and now your grandchildren, having this knowledge. And Coy, you in a chef's position in a restaurant, understand the necessity for saving lives, and how this can happen in the blink of an eye. One person can lose consciousness. There's no evidence of a heartbeat. And what do you do beyond call 911 until they get here? We can be the beat. We can be the ones to start to initiate the process of restarting a life, of restarting the heart, and getting that person back up until the EMT people come and can continue their due diligence.
I'm thinking about how many people will, because you know how smart everybody believes they are,
right?
But how many people are just going to dismiss the call to learn CPR because people think, just from seeing it on TV for all these years and seeing it in movies perform, it's very simple. I'm going to get down, I'm going to press the chest a couple of times, they're going to start breathing. I don't need to actually learn, but that's actually dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing.
Katrina, I don't know about you, but having gone through the CPR training, it's hard work.
Yeah.
Saving a life. And so, Chris, you're right. You just think, oh, what is it just to do this?
Yeah.
No, it's a process. It's steps you have to go through, right, Katrina?
Absolutely. You honestly have to press a little harder than most people imagine. And so it's really important to, first of all, if you can take the class, take the class. If you can't find a class near you, at least watch the 3-minute video to learn hands-only CPR. I know a lot of people don't want to learn because they don't want to give breaths and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Learn at a minimum hands-only CPR so that you can at least stand in the gap until medical professionals arrive. That's really the most important part, because when you think about 70% of them happening at home, that's somebody you love. That's your mama, your daddy, your grandchild or something. So you want to be equipped to be able to at least give them the highest chance possible at survival. The other thing is, well, you mentioned grandkids. CPR is different on infants than it is on adults.
Between adults,
Mm-hmm.
And that's a part of the learning, and the training.
Yeah. But it's I encourage people to go through the training, but I don't want people to think it's so hard that you can't learn.
No,
I believe everybody can learn how to do CPR.
Yeah, it's not an extended program where you go for days or weeks on end.
Right.
You can do this. If you go to heart.org, you can find out where you can take the classes. We're in our yoga studio. We're going to start with a young woman who put us through the training. She's a certified instructor, and so we're going to have her come to our studio and have her teach classes. And it can be done, in your home. It can be done in a yoga studio, but to get people up and to know that, because as you say, Katrina, you are you're taught about the type of pressure and how, and 100 to 120 beats or pulsations, that you're doing every minute. It does, and sometimes you might need a partner, somebody else alongside of you, to help you. But this is it's life saving, and as you say, we can be the beat to restore the beat for our loved ones or somebody we may not even know. But just knowing that we can do that and help people and keep life going.
That's right. I don't think that this is, one of the areas where we have to let disparities be our future.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's so many areas where inequities and disparities exist as it relates to healthcare for African Americans, Latinas, Indigenous, LGBTQIA+. This does not have to be one of them. Literally, every household should have a person that learns CPR. If your church should host a CPR class, your community center, your
sorority,
group.
your fraternity, all you folks. Yeah.
I was just sitting here thinking, it seems like such a great thing to make a group event. Think about just getting together on Sunday for brunch like friends do. Think of the brothers who get together and go see a basketball game, or, people who go out to the club together, or you ladies go to your sipping paints. But instead, we're going to get together as a group and we're going to all take the CPR class. And it'll be fun because you're all learning it. And then afterwards, you will have a bond of sisters and brotherhood. All of you who your close boys are, you all know you got each other's back. You all know that you are ready to jump into action. And that is something bonding in itself for friends or family.
That's right. Look at the bonding that took place on the football field because people knew what to do.
Right.
When this young man, Mr. Hamlin, went down with cardiac arrest.
Right.
And
they may not know CPR, but what did all the football players do? They immediately, what can we do?
Right.
We can circle this brother and make sure he has privacy in this moment.
They
all locked arms and circled him. So they knew that's all they could do, but they did what they could do.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And in a private situation with Lisa Marie Presley.
Yeah.
Luckily, as her member of her household staff may not have been able to do it, but and this is where you want to keep good relations with your exes. Her ex-husband came in and performed CPR to get her heart started, and before the emergency people came. So you just never know when. And as you say, Katrina, for Black and Latino women, if we're not in a hospital, the chances of a bystander knowing what's going on is really, it's a very small percentage of that in order to keep you going.
Absolutely. And there are even disparities among women. People are afraid to touch the tatas and do CPR. Yeah. I'm like, don't worry about that with me. By all means, push them to the side and get the compression. Because, any woman will tell you, hey, we want to live. So much more than we want to worry about that.
That's right.
We just got to break down all of these barriers.
You better not pass out around me.
Make sure I'm not breathing first.
And that is a part of the process. You go in, you want to make sure if the person, can they hear you? Can they understand? If they're not breathing, check that. Call 911. And if you're alone, call 911, put it on speaker.
Exactly.
And that person that you call should be able to help you through the process as they are calling for emergency help.
And hell, don't mind my tatas either.
Don't mind yours either. Okay.
No. Proceed.
I wonder if it used to be, now when I was in school, we were taught CPR during our gym class and during our health class, but I'm not noticing that with a lot of students that are coming through school these days. So that's a concern of mine, where they used to be mandatory when I was in school, which wasn't that long ago, to now we have just this gap within our education system that doesn't care whether or not your kids know how to perform CPR on each other, on an older adult or something like that. But I would encourage everybody to look into it. I believe a lot of the local YMCA teaches CPR classes and gives CPR certifications if anybody's interested in that.
They don't teach in schools now because they're too busy teaching the kids how to hide and how to run out of doors. Yes, that's what they moved on to. But yes, like you said, when I was a kid, somebody with an ambulance would show up and bring this dummy and lay it down on the ground, and we all had to learn and get a certificate.
That's right. That's right. Go to heart.org if you have any questions, and also about where you may go in order to get this CPR instruction. Katrina, what else can we learn about what you have on your plate? Because I know there's so much as we're coming up on Heart Month and Black History Month and things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're on the cusp of our 100th anniversary as an organization, if you can believe that. And we have so many wonderful things going with our social impact fund and business accelerators. It's one of the things I love, that we are equipping change makers from within the community to do work for the community. And I'm so proud of that. The business accelerator is a competition of sorts for social entrepreneurs. We have several of those coming up this year that I am super excited about, because I feel like capitalism is a wonderful way to move and make change within, around social issues. So I'm excited about that. In February, we also have a great Black History Month and American Heart Month event that's happening in New York, in addition to our red dress collection. So just so many things that are really helping us become more of our champions of health equity throughout and across the country.
That is so great. And for people who want more information on a lot of these things, we go to heart.org. Is that right?
Absolutely. Heart.org, or you can go to American Heart on Instagram and Facebook and find out more there.
Okay. And for folks who are watching and are regulars here on It's Sybil, we want you to know that we have a show coming up with the American Heart Association in February 16th, with the women from the Greek sororities, the female members and presidents of the Divine Nine of the sororities. We will be working with them as well. And I'm excited that we're going to be in New York with you guys for Red Dress Week. That's also very exciting.
Absolutely. You'll be hosting our event the night of February 2nd, and get to meet so many of the incredible women who are sharing their story, as well as Dr. Michelle Albert, who is an amazing sister. She's our first African-American female president of the organization. Woo woo. She are bad. She are bad. Like, she is, I can't just use the singular. I have to use the plural of the word.
All of her, right.
Yes. Amazing.
And that's another exciting interview I'm excited to be a part of with Dr. Alexander. So Katrina, before we let you go, we do have a PSA that we want to share with people in talking about CPR in the Black community especially. This is Sybil Wilkes, and this is what you need to know. Women who suffer cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. And this is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this frightening statistic. Take the urgent challenge posed by the American Heart Association right now to learn CPR. Be the beat. Be the beat for someone you love, whether it's your mom, your dad, your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your child. You can be the difference. You can make the difference when it matters most. Please, please, please go to heart.org today. Take the CPR challenge and save lives. That is really exciting. You've given us our charge, Katrina, and I do want to thank you so much for, as I said, for all your support. And the door is always open anytime you want to call in or come in and talk about these things. We know how important it is. We know how important it is to super serve the African American community, especially, and you guys do such a great job. And to spread the word, we want to do that.
Hold on, how come you're not playing my video? What I mean? You down with CPR? Oh yes, we are. You down with CPR? Oh yes, we are.
and Chris, we're going to record that and play that next week as well. Right. Thank you so much for that.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me, Chris, Coy, Sybil. It was a pleasure to join you.
The pleasure is always ours. You're always welcome. Come on back anytime. Katrina McGee, she is the Executive Vice President of the American Heart Association. And Katrina is a woman on the move. She are bad too, ladies and gentlemen. She are bad too. Thank you so much. See you again soon.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye-bye. I think I misspoke about the president, the new president of the American Heart Association. I believe it's Dr. Albert, but I apologize for naming her. Let us move to what's going on in the world. And Coy, I'm going to put you up because this is not only a story that affected Alabama, but it affected Georgia. And this was one of our stories in the What You Need to Know newsletter about the weather. This was positively just a traumatizing situation for a lot of people when the storm came through Alabama as well as Georgia. And it turned the town of great history, which is Selma, Alabama, just devastated a lot of homes, a lot of historic places. And so we talked about that in the newsletter. This Selma, Alabama, how do I know that name? That is where people join every year to go back to commemorate the March for Voting Rights. And this is where the Black people, including John Lewis and others, tried to march across the bridge, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, named after a Confederate general, by the way, were stopped by the state troopers, by water cannons and dogs and what have you. And people were severely injured, including the great John Lewis. And so this brought the powerful twisters, sent uprooted trees, as Coy said, set mobile homes airborne, derailed a freight train, flipped cars, cracked utility poles, and down power lines, leaving thousands without electricity. As Coy said, they may not be restored. That may not be restored until this week. The suspected tornado damage reported in at least 14 counties in Alabama and 14 counties in Georgia. The Associated Press reported downtown Selma sustained severe damage before the worst of the weather, then moved on to Georgia. And the 7 deaths were reported in Autauga County. The storm inflicted heavy damage on Selma, cutting a wide swath through the downtown area where brick buildings collapsed, oak trees were uprooted, cars were tossed onto their sides, and power lines were left dangling. And this is also the home of the Congresswoman, Terry Sewell, from Alabama. And she is a native there. And she said it was painful to see what the tornado had done to her hometown. Coy, if you can explain to people what you've experienced and where this was.
So again, where my family is from, where my dad is from Griffin, Georgia. It's about an hour south of Atlanta. I had no clue that the tornado happened down there. I was scheduled to meet up with the lawyer in concerns with, because, I'm still, going through a lot of different processes when it comes down to my dad's home property and stuff like that. So I'm in the process of getting some things going for the home, getting it repaired and what have you. And as I was on the way, turning into the border of the town, I noticed a lot of trees, just areas of trees bent all the same way. They were broken across the highway. There were parts that we couldn't go across. And then outside, the outskirts of the community, there is a mobile home community. And there were just several of them that were either on their sides, ripped apart, trees had fallen through several of the homes, and everybody's just standing outside looking like they look confused. And so I'm, getting more concerned and kind of scared the closer that I get to town. I'm seeing a lot more destruction. Commercial buildings, like I said, the roof ripped off. I saw a commercial building roof that landed in a neighborhood like blocks and blocks away. The place where I normally go to for my storage, the building next door had no walls, it had no ceiling, no windows. There's a lot of greenery in that area in Griffin, a lot of huge old oak trees, pine trees, and they were everywhere. There's been people just every day outside with hacksaws and axes just trying to cut away and make a walkway. I've seen food trucks that have been set up like out on the streets trying to feed people because there is no power. There will not be any power for the next several days. It's very, very cold on top of that. So think about people having no power, some people having no hot water because they have electrical hot water heaters, and no food. And then they can't even monitor how many people are going in and out of grocery stores and what have you. So what is going on now is like the local Walmart or what have you, they're only allowing like 25 people in at a time. You can only use a card. Calling emergency response teams and police is something that's taken a long time as well. I went to my dad's home and found that somebody like took shelter, I guess, during the storm. So I had to call, police for an intruder. That took a very long time. They don't have any systems that can like generate police reports or anything like that. It's just a mess. I just saw like crews of work trucks of workers just kind of like looking around confused. They didn't know where to start with the cleanup effort. I don't even know if there is like a coordinated cleanup effort. I did see, was it yesterday, the day before, that they're starting to rehang power lines and stuff like that. So that is a promise, but there still is no power. Right. There is none. There's no resources. There is none. And a lot of people are blind to this because like here in Atlanta, everything is hustling and bustling and it's going on as normal, but you can drive literally an hour away to see the devastation of people.
Were you able to talk to any of the people who you may have known as neighbors or people living nearby your dad's home?
Yeah, and nobody has power, and it's just like everybody.
Well, not so much in power, but like, in describing, how it happened and where they are now.
My cousin said that when the tornado happened, it felt like she felt everything shaking. She said, I've never moved that fast ever in my life. A lot of people were talking about how scared they were. I've never seen that happen. I've never even heard, like my dad is from there. He was born in 1948. So, that's a very long time to have lived in that area, family from there. None of them have ever talked about a tornado happening there. So there was absolutely no plan in terms of what happens if a tornado happens. There's no tornado
preparedness,
warning systems, alarms, nothing like that, nothing. So this kind of caught the community like they were blindsided. And just to see how many trees there have uprooted, that's another thing that's very, very alarming for this town. Right. And it's not on a major highway either. So it's not a city that you would really know unless you're from Georgia and like the South area of Atlanta and what happens after you go on some of these state highways. So a lot of people they're, like I said, they're confused. They don't know who to call. We're trying to call the city. They don't really have a plan. They've enlisted the help of other surrounding cities, counties, and what have you. The governor has stepped in and declared it an emergency, a state of emergency for that area. And he has called on effort from other places, but it is a big wake up call because nobody knew what to do at all.
Right. Has there been any discussion with how to contact FEMA, the Emergency Management Agency, or what they can do to help your family?
Not that I know of. I haven't heard any of that from anyone. I am going to go back and check on things on tomorrow.
And how far is this from you, by the way?
For me, it's about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So it takes me quite some time to get there. I haven't heard anything about FEMA. I've heard people saying something about Red Cross, we're confused. We don't know.
Yeah, and you're working blindly. Yeah.
Working very blindly. I mean, this isn't just people that are in mobile homes and just houses and duplexes. There are people in apartments. They don't know what to do. There are people that are unfortunately were in homes that had no, home insurance. So now they have to deal with that. A lot of people don't know, and I'm learning this process as well. Going through and a piece of a tree fall on my car in the process of trying to make sure the home is well. People don't know that you can call your home loan company for mortgage, or you can call the loan company where you make your car payments and get a forbearance or some type of understanding that, hey, listen, I just went through a natural disaster. Is there something that you can do for this? Is there some type of assistance program? A lot of people don't know this. They don't know.
Yeah, there should be a textbook, but we don't even think about that. When people are going through it. Well, let us know. Keep us apprised. As I said, if it is a matter of doing a story or just talking about it on the show, and also, Coy, if there's a way that people can help from afar in helping people who are going through this very difficult time. If
generators, if anybody wants to donate generators, if anybody wants to donate clothes, food, you all can. My contact info is in my bio on Instagram. And just a word to the wise to everybody, because I had to stop my neighbor from doing this. Do not touch any down power line. You don't know if it's live or if it's dead.
If you're walking, driving, whatever.
Yeah, don't drive over any. I'm hearing like the electrical shock as people are driving over these power lines. And I'm like, please stop. My neighbor got out of her car to, I guess, try to go get some food because there's like, even like the local fast food, there's probably like 2 of them that are open. There's no gas stations. Like, it's awful. So she was driving in her car to go get food, and the power line got stuck on her car, and she gets out and she's trying to kick it with her feet. And I'm telling her, stop, don't, whatever you do, don't, because when you become electrocuted, you become a part of the current. You can't let go.
Yeah.
So don't touch it, please, people. I don't care if you think it's dead. Don't use a stick. Okay.
Right. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. And then you talk about the trivialities of life, like regarding politics, but you want those people that are being so trivial with the politics, talking about the secret documents and things like that, Chris. And so you want them to do the work and do their due diligence there, but you also want them to do what's necessary to take care of their constituents.
Right. We can never forget that there are people, there are real life people who live in the districts that these politicians represent.
Right.
And it seems like it's up to us to take care of each other, because so often the people that we send to Washington don't do it. So we have to be better neighbors to each other.
And we're talking about ridiculous things like, well, they did this to our president, so we're going to do it to their president,
right?
Or trying to save and making jokes out of, and it is funny to a certain extent, but the reality is they're saving the behind of someone who is a habitual liar, or probably is from a medical standpoint. Is a man with some real issues, and they're trying to save him because they need to save all the votes and get all the stack up all the chips they can.
Right.
But this is life and death right here, and this is what we're talking about. So I hope that the majority of them are able to get their priorities straight and take care of the people who need the help immediately. And I'm not saying let's move on from Florida and what happened to my friends there. I'm not saying, let's move on from California, where they're still undergoing all of these storms. There is enough money and there are enough people to appropriate enough for all of these organizations, for all of these countries, for all of this country and all these cities and towns that are affected by this.
Right.
So let's get our ish together and let's make it happen. Shall we? One other thing please. One other thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is on a lighter note, and this is for you, Coy. I saw this. I know you're on your way to becoming a world famous chef. And I hate when people count other people's money and tell them what to do, but you might want to save your money up for this. Sotheby's is bringing Kobe Bryant's MVP Lakers jersey to auction and is expected to bring up to, I just want to take a guess on how. So let me tell you, the signed jersey worn by the 5-time NBA champion more than 25 times during the 2007-2008 season.
1.8.
Keep going.
2 million.
Billion?
$7 million.
Hey.
I was thinking 25.
Expected to bring up to $7 million. It's the same jersey worn in the now iconic photo in which he grabs the jersey and screams in excitement after securing the 14-point lead over the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference.
I know exactly which one that is.
Mm-hmm. It's become synonymous with his Mamba mentality, according to Sotheby's head of the streetwear and modern collectibles. He said this in a press release. The fact that Kobe scored a total of 645 points over 8 months in this jersey in his only MVP season is simply stunning. And so is the price. But for some people, they're saying if the jersey sells for the $5 to $7 million price tag that Sotheby is estimating, it would be the highest price ever paid for a Bryant jersey. Another jersey valued so highly, of course, is Michael Jordan's game-worn 1998 NBA Finals The Last Dance jersey, which sold for $10.1 million.
$7 million too rich for my blood. I'll take the Lamar Odom for 200.
Well, Coy, I know you're a big Kobe fan, but I'm out too. So I'd love to, buy you a little something, but sorry.
I didn't win the lottery yet, but today could be the day.
That's right. And they're still looking for that person who won the lottery in Maine, by the way. In this little town.
Don't turn in that ticket so we can keep playing. 6,000
people. They said they got to know the person is who won that. All right, let's close out with entertainment. And folks, Chris Paul, I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about your Chris Paul and Friends. That is January 25th.
Boom, the DC Improv, DMV. I need you in the building. We're going to pack the house. DCimprov.com is where you get tickets for Chris Paul and Friends. And you know who one of my greatest friends is, Huggy Lowdown. So I'm going to make him come through and do a few minutes. But I'll have other special guests, DCimprov.com. It's a Wednesday night. Come on, let's do this.
Let's do this indeed. Folks who are making other entertainment plans, they have announced the lineup for the New Orleans Jazz Fest. It's going to take place, the first weekend is April 28th. And I've got 6 pages of lineup. I didn't realize it was quite this long.
Wow.
But heading the lineup is Lizzo and Jill Scott.
Damn.
Gary Clark Jr., the Steve Miller Band, Kenny Loggins, Jasmine Sullivan, Big Frida, Los Lobos, and who else? Mavis Staples. It's ridiculous. Cyril Neville of the Neville Brothers, the New Orleans Classic Recording Review, and Al Carnival Time Johnson. A lot of these folks. It's really crazy. This is just the first weekend. The Bad Boys Brass Band, Charlie Wilson's New Orleans Surrenders, Clyde Wilson, I'm sorry, not Uncle Charlie. But this is just the first weekend, April 28th, 29th, and 30th.
What a lineup.
It's crazy. It's crazy, right? So if you are planning to make your plans, I would do it right away. Get your car loaded, folks, or if you want to make airline reservations, good luck with that. All right, let's close out with our daily inspiration, Yogi's Jewels. And what is good news? Those things that are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, and admirable. Share these things. True, honest, just, pure, lovely, and admirable. That would apply to our friends here. That would be Chris Paul and Coy Malone. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Coy, good luck to you. And Chris, we're going to get everybody there to see you as well. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. Aloha.